This was one of his last trips as commander of the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan. General Dan McNeill had come to visit a school in the village of Gozar, 30 kilometres south of Kabul. After 15 months in the job, the general's stepping down. One thing that's impressed him greatly during his time here is the development of the Afghan army.
We're more than double the number of soldiers, Afghan soldiers in uniform today than when we first took over back in February 2007. In 2006, they were inducting about 600 recruits per month. 2007, they pushed that up to better than 2,000 per month on the average, and we thought that was extraordinary. This year, they've been taking in more than 4,000. They don't appear to have a problem with recruiting, and the training is going very well for them. It cranks out a fairly good soldier. The police are not at the same level. They're still a little behind, but their development has begun to take shape. And by the end of the summer, certainly by the end of the year, we expect to see far better capacity in the police.
According to NATO, around 60% of Afghanistan is relatively stable, though in key areas of the south and parts of the east, security incidents have risen over the past 2 years. General McNeill attributes that to the ISAF and Afghan forces entering new ground.
Through the 17th of May, I believe it was, there had been something over 2,000 incidents that we had recorded. About 12% of them were in one district. There are 398 districts in this country. You might ask, what's wrong with that district? Well, there are a lot of U.S. Marines in that district now. We haven't been able to have forces there before.
General McNeill fought in Vietnam, Korea and Iraq, but for him the war in Afghanistan is totally different to any he's experienced before.
This is an incredibly complex environment. Arguably more neighbors involved in one way or another than I've known in other conflicts that I've been in. Fractious behavior amongst the indigenous people themselves is not unique to anything I've known before, but the level of it is quite extraordinary here. The history of the country, which some would conclude it's always been warlike, it's natural to the people. This insidious plant called poppy, it's just awfully complex. And when you consider the time we spent here, the 16 months or so, and what the Afghans have been able to accomplish with the help of the international force, really is quite an extraordinary bit of progress. I think it will continue as long as we have the will to hang with them. I hear quite a few leaders of countries in the alliance and espouse that we're here for the long haul, and I'm very encouraged by that. Very few of them define what the long haul is, but it's still encouraging. It shows commitment and shows will. I think we will be here at least in an assisting capacity, mentoring capacity, for a number of years yet, but I would expect that in 2011 the Afghans will, in their security forces, have the capacity to control most of their own battle space, and I think that NATO must ask itself a rhetorical question: do we still need the force the size that we have there? And I think the answer to that's pretty obvious, but I think by that time we start to make some adjustments.
This is General McNeill's last tour. After more than 40 years in service, he's heading back home to the States, where he plans to enjoy his retirement.
I'll blow some of the dust off of some of those fly rods I've made and tie up a few more flies. I'll see if I can get a tight line, catch a fish, and when the frost comes, maybe I'll get out and see if there's a quail or two I can rustle up. And when it's really miserable weather, cold, raining and whatnot, I'll see if there's a duck flying around that maybe I can help manage the population.
Mel Preen in Afghanistan for the NATO channel.